All right, we are live and welcome to the 9 Universal Laws of a Loving Relationship. My name is Vincent Carleton. Good evening and welcome to the live broadcast. We've got a lot to cover tonight. I'm excited because Kabbalistically there are 2 really important days to discuss at the beginning of the year. And this is one of them, 12 days in and then 32 days in. We're looking at lots of energy being shared, and we'll be covering a lot today in terms of how Kabbalah falls into a loving relationship and really dictates how you can achieve harmony based on some pretty easy rules to follow. We're going to be covering them all tonight through all the possibilities that can exist in a relationship, and I've got some really good news for everyone tonight. Lots of things to share as far as developments go. So why don't we just dive right in, and we're going to talk about the ruling planets for a moment here. So remember here, we talked about astrological signs. I just want you to get an idea of what your ruling planet is based on your astrological sun sign, okay? So take a look at this, pause it if you need to. Once this is done, you can go back to it because we're going to be covering, like I said, a lot of information. And I want you to be absolutely certain of what your ruling planet is as far as your astrological sun sign. Okay? And now we get into the good stuff. So let's go to this universal laws of loving relationships. You will see a couple things here. So I'm going to be using myself as an example quite a bit just because it's easy. And to find out the day of the week that you're born is important in this specific aspect. And why is that? Well, it's good to know what your ruling energy is that's above all else. And to know that is to know the day of the week you're born. So you can go and Google it and literally type in day of the week born. There's a website called Math is Fun. You can put in your birth date. It'll tell you the day of the week that you're born, and then you go from there. So let's just jump back here. Looking at these numbers, you may be wondering, how do we read this? What does this really mean? And once you see how it's aligned with every single day that could potentially, or every number that could potentially exist in the basic calendar, in the calendar year, be it 1 through 31, you're going to understand things a little bit better. So we're looking at this in the form of a month. And when you're looking at this in the monthly format, we can start to understand and picture this better. And really, to understand Kabbalah, it's about understanding the big picture, okay? So in order to understand a loving relationship, first you have to understand the number of the month that you were born. So in my particular case, I'm born on March 5th. Okay, so I have 5 as my relationship number. This is the number that I'm going to be bringing to the table with anyone that I would like to have a relationship with. And so I'm going to be bringing this energy. And what is this energy? So let's take a look at this one more time. You'll see on number 5, it points to Mercury. So you can see here the included combinations in a month can be 5, 14, or 23. So if you're born on any of those days, you know that your energy is Mercury that you're injecting into a relationship. Now keep in mind that this also applies for any sort of interaction that you're having with people. So if you don't just want to figure out what the combined energy is and the universal laws between yourself and a significant other, you can also look at the significant energy between yourself and a family member or yourself and a coworker. However you want to look at this, when you're combining the energies between 2 people, you can use this guide. So it's very, very useful. Going back here, let's just take an example where, let's say someone, in most cases in my life, and this is something interesting you may find, as you start to figure out the number combinations, you may notice that the people that are closest to you in life and that have had the most experience with you are likely the same combined number. In my particular case, the majority come from number 8. And when you're looking at Saturn, so I know a lot of folks that are born on the 8th, 17th, and 26th. These are the big numbers that are in my life as far as the people that are really closest to me. And I could say immediate family and the most fulfilling relationships I've had do come with this number. So what do we do in this particular case? Well, we take the number 8, which represents Saturn, and we combine it with my number, which is 5 for Mercury, and we get the combined addition of these two numbers, which is 13. So let's locate 13, folks. And I see it over here. It's on number 4 for Uranus. So the energy Uranus is going to be the combined energy, and the universal laws will be set within this planetary energy between the two people. So what does this mean? Well, as far as a relationship goes, and we're talking specifically about relationships, there are 3 components that form a relationship that you need to be aware of, Kabbalistically. And those 3 components are communication, physical connection, and then there is the universal law, which we're talking about today. So if you understand the universal law, it provides support for communication and the physical. But if you don't understand the universal law, you're hoping that you're getting it right. It's like walking on the piano like a cat. You're hoping that you're going to hit the right scales. And we've been talking about scales for over a week now. And now we need to create harmony. And if you go back and start to apply all the knowledge that's been given over the course of a week, you'll start to see that this sequence has a determined purpose and that everything is linked together. Okay? So if we go back here and you understand that Uranus is a combination of numbers that equals 4, 13, 22, or 31, then you know that this is the ruling energy. So let's start to get into the goods. Okay, so this is the good stuff. Ooh, don't want to go too far. Got to let this disseminate slowly because it's a lot. It can be. When we're looking at the basic ruling principles for each number, these are the go-to commandments, so to speak, the things to really be aware of. And if you're doing the opposite of these things, then you should pretty much expect that you're going to have some discord, that some challenges are going to arise, and you're going to have to confront them. So we're using the example 4, but before we go into that in more detail, which I'll show you how we're going to, I want us to go through each and every one of the 9 ruling energies, 1 through 9, so that we have a sequence for everyone and everyone feels fulfilled knowing they've received the pieces of information that they've come here to receive. Okay, so let's start with 1. 1 is the sun. We're looking at anyone who combines their energies and it equals one of the 4 numbers that are listed up there. And of course, it's going to reduce to a 1. So if the 2 numbers, let's say you have a 14 and you have a 5, right? That gives you 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. And so it reduces to a 1. That's one example. You could have 2 people that are born on the 14th, okay? That equals 28. 2 plus 8 gives you 10. 1 plus 0 gives you 1. It reduces to a 1. This is the mathematics of numerology. We're looking to reduce the numbers always down to a number between 1 and 9. And you will see tonight, without giving too many spoilers, how it can go outside of that realm, but it's really more so for specific details that are connected to the tarot and other divining systems. And one in particular I will reveal to you today, which is the Mind of Humanity divining system, which is being designed by myself and illustrator George Sellis. Okay, so we're talking about number 1. Appreciate one another. It strengthens the bond. So we should be talking about number 0. In fact, I'm going to step back for a second and give you just a quick preview, though, of what the sun is all about. But before we go into that, let's go to 0. You'll see here that this divining card from the Mind of Humanity series, it is called All is One. And we need to think about this principle of all is one before we start to talk about a loving relationship. And why? Before we start to depict all of the semiotics and the messages within this card, which are quite elaborate, and it is a beautiful depiction, we need to talk about the idea of what it means to be in a relationship. So to be in a relationship is to experience a death first. What is the death? The death is of the single self. It is of the self without a significant other. And you must experience that death as close as you can to its entirety in order to have a strong foundation established with the person that you seek a relationship with. Because if you don't have that space, if you're not letting go of the self as much as you can, the foundation won't be set right. And you'll be facing issues after the honeymoon phase, I guarantee it. These are the things that people usually don't want to negotiate nowadays. Most relationships, they get through honeymoon phase, or maybe they don't. When things start to surface, the conversation is never like, oh man, we didn't talk about the negotiation of what communication is going to be between you and I when I just have been managing communication between myself and my cell phone. These kinds of things need to be brought up. And when we're looking at all as one, now we can start to understand this a little bit better. The single self goes blind. You are sharing a reflection with this person in your life. And you'll see it's kind of like a zipper of zeros and ones. This is the digital life. And unless you let go of that life that you know as a single individual, you're going to run into resistance and challenges. And it's to say that everyone is connected. And it is actually quite a fulfilling experience to let go of the personal self, because the ego is strongly attached to that. And the ego wants to stay attached to that because the ego wants you to be comfortable. Doesn't necessarily mean that comfortable is healthy, right? It could mean that comfortable is being in a comfort zone for the sake of survival. But when you're comfortable, the opportunities for personal and self-growth are very low. They're nil. They're non-existent. So a real fulfilling, loving relationship involves the concept of growing at an accelerated rate with the reflection of another. And if the reflection is clean and strong and good, you will find yourself in the most incredible synchronistic experiences. That is the idea of finding what John O'Donohue describes as the anamkara, the soul friend. It's not talking about, oh, this is my soulmate. It's talking about the idea of finding a reflection in another to where you feel totally safe, to where you can be extremely vulnerable and you can let out all of those wounded gifts and have them be embraced. And this is set through a foundation. The foundation can be set at any time. It's often difficult to have to break the foundation and relay it down and reform it. But it's not to say that it is impossible. It's easier by doing it through the shift therapy techniques and by understanding the universal laws of a relationship. So we've talked about all as one. Let's go into now Sun Divining card number 1. But just to mention here, all is connected, active and passive. This is a time for breaking patterns. Not until a leap of faith is taken does one start to see the path ahead in its truest form. And the leap of faith could be considered foolish, very foolish. That's because starting a relationship is foolish to the ego. The ego is saying, why would you give up all of this single life for the sake of putting all of it at risk through another and their reflection? I would argue it's for the accelerated growth. It's for the perspective that you can understand a little bit better about who you are, why you're here, and what your purpose is through another. And that knowledge it's just invaluable. You can't put a dollar sign on it. It's worth the time. Okay, Sun Divining card. Here we go. Let's just read it. The sun represents the seed of happiness. Be grateful for what you have and provide service to those in need. You may be surprisingly rewarded at this time. When we talk about the beginning of a relationship, when there's the death of the ego and it's little death and as best as you can manage, the first day that you connect with that person, you start the birth of the soul of the relationship. And so it could be a kiss, it could be your first meeting, it could be an amazing conversation that you have, even digitally. This is the world that we live in now, where we put a lot of attention into those things. And that day becomes the birth of the relationship. And from there, we have this beautiful cycle that goes every 52 days. We go through the ruling planets. And we're going to be talking more about this tomorrow. So be sure to keep tuning in, because by the time everything's said and done, you will be a universal Kabbalist that understands most of the spiritual math that there is to understand. And that's because I've tried to simplify it over the years. There's been some things, some concepts that have seemed very challenging and difficult to grasp. And so I'm trying to reduce this into as simple of a process as possible. So remember, the sun is really important because it's the seed. It represents this universal seed. And if you look carefully, you can see a lot of beautiful things here, including some Egyptian signs and some background that if you pay attention, you'll see a lot of meaning in this. And I don't like to give away all the semiotics, but if you're looking at this as far as gathering energy, just imagine that sun going right into your heart center. If you can imagine that going right into your heart center, then you'll start to be able to fuel the alchemic process of bringing whatever you want into your life. It's a very powerful image. Okay, so remember, the universal law for loving relationships says, appreciate one another. It strengthens the bond. Do not fail with this. Really, I suggest that you do everything that you can, if you have this combined number, to appreciate the person that's in your life as much as you can. And if you're in the beginning of the relationship, it's just begun, this sun energy is going to be an important law in addition to whatever ruling law you have. It's to keep this in mind. The more that you appreciate one another, the more that you are creating space for love to flourish. And it's a beautiful place to be these first 52 days of a relationship. Or if you have the sun energy as your ruling law, that's great. It's something that you can really tap into and do incredible things. Okay, I think that covers sun. Now we're going to move into moon. It says here, regularly connect with family, because it balances out emotions. And when we're talking about moon energy, we are most certainly talking about emotions, because it's deeply connected to the subconscious. And this illustration by George Sellis, I really love. You see the owl of Minerva, which actually has to do with communication, is flying eastbound, and it is an auspicious sign. When you have the waterfall, which is the stream of consciousness, it is the cosmic waters that exist, that encompass all of our souls. And it says here, the moon represents the subconscious mind. Pay attention to your thoughts and dreams and trust your intuition. This is a good opportunity to positively connect with others. And there's no better time than in the moon phase than to get engaged with someone. If you're considering marriage, when you have that moon phase of when you unite with your lover, and you've passed through the sun phase, and let's say you've gone a year, let's say you haven't, let's say you just really are sure, and you've gone 52 days through, and you're in this moon phase, it's a really nice time to solidify the relationship and engagement. So the moon energy has a lot to do with the honeymoon, as you can see. It's a beautiful imagery of the subconscious mind. And I mentioned that it's deeply connected to family because the moon is very much related to the feminine spirit. When we're talking about the feminine spirit, which exists in everyone, this feminine spirit has to do with receiving. And so it's the receiving energy. It's the passive energy. It's the water-based energy. And so it's deeply connected to feelings. It's also very much influenced by moon signs. And so right now with the full moon, if you have this as your energy, it's going to be deeply affected, more so than others. So it's something to keep in mind. Okay, we're moving along here. And before we move any further, I just want to check and see if we have any live chat comments. So no live chat comments at this point in time. If someone would like to make a comment, I'll be paying attention to the live chat from time to time. So just keep that in mind. I'll be checking and answering questions as they come through. Okay, let's continue. We're going to go to card number 3, which is Jupiter. Before we do, let's go back to the guide and see here. It says, serve and prepare food together. It allows for better negotiations. This is really interesting. If you're talking about Jupiter energy, it's deeply connected to food. And it's the all-powerful planet of expansion. It signifies the unlocking of your highest potential from within, expanding whatever you are focusing on at this time. And what's really interesting about Jupiter is that if you have this energy together, if you have the combined numbers, we're talking about something that has to do with expansion of wealth. So not just food-related things, but expansion of all things. It also could be expansion of negative thoughts, so you want to be cognizant of that. But Jupiter energy is definitely connected to wealth. And so let's look at this card one more time. You see the third eye is involved in this, and Jupiter being the largest planet, the planet of expansion. We're looking at Marduk right here, which is quite a beautiful depiction by George Sellis. Okay, I think that covers number 3. Let's continue here by going to number 4. And number 4 is the Uranus energy, and we had talked about this. We are finally here. And it talks about letting the past go and to focus on the present for increased luck. Okay, so Uranus has to do with luck. It has to do also with the idea of letting go and detachment. This is such an important aspect. If you look carefully at the actual planet in this depiction, first of all, we have this beautiful Iron Man representation. Uranus is the spiritual aspect of the sun. You see this veil that is over Uranus, and it's just a beautiful depiction. If you look at the planet, there is the I forget the name of the snake, but it's in a continuous circle. You have the yin-yang that's going on. And you have the alchemic symbol inside. But this dragon's head, it represents the dragon's head. And so it's a very, very powerful energy. And it says here, represents the spiritual aspect of the sun. It's the hidden power that exists in the universe. And it is what unites us all, that all is one. So remember, it unites us with this initial principle. And remember what this initial principle talked to us about? It talked to us about letting go, this idea of having to let go of the single self. So if you're looking at Uranus and you're thinking, this is the energy that we have, and I want to have harmony with this individual, then I need to let go. I need to let go of all the ideas of this person reciprocating my love. I need to let go of all the ideas of this person unifying with me and saying with reassurance that they are with me. That's a difficult thing, wouldn't you say? But I'll tell you what, if and when you can accomplish such a thing, the feeling is absolutely amazing. There's really nothing quite like having Uranus energy between two people where both understand the idea of living in the present moment and letting go of whatever previous attachments were there. It leads to an accelerated growth beyond any explanation I can give. And the synchronistic events and the luck involved when that happens is definitely worth the risk for the reward. No question. Okay. And what ends up happening over time is as you start to get an idea of how the game is played between the two of you, it becomes really peaceful and exciting at the same time. You can start to experience things on levels that you hadn't before. Okay, let's go back to the universal guide here. We're going to go into the next number, which is 5, Mercury. And remember, Mercury is about communication. So, of course, it says here the ruling principle is set a firm foundation in communication. And so, we're going to be sure to set a firm foundation in communication when we're talking about combined energies equaling 5 for Mercury. Another great idea with Mercury is to travel. There's no better energy between two people when it equals 5 than no better opportunity than for travel. And that increases the harmony incredibly. So if you need a refresher and you're sharing 5 with your significant other, man, it is time to take a vacay. Get out there, plan it, Just by planning it in itself will change the energy. But once you get to that place, that location, oh, it's going to completely renovate your energy and your relationship. So we're looking at Mercury here, and you see the caduceus and this, same symbol that you would see at hospitals, but it's illustrated more eloquently here through George Sellis's illustration. We have Ida and Pingala, the masculine, the feminine, fire and water. So this is an androgynous being that we're looking at. It's the combination of masculine and feminine, and it is influenced by the moon cycles. Mercury, when it is in balance, it is unbelievable energy and will certainly help with communication, commerce, and travel. And it says here, the journey begins here. Take this time to effectively promote your projects and goals. See the world. And if you want to earn money, talking about the promotion of a project, when you combine this with Jupiter, there's no stopping you. I'm telling you, it's very powerful for commerce. So those with Mercury energy also should be involved in making that foundation of communication very strong. And keep in mind, too, that if you write letters to one another, you do things that are writing-based and communications-based, it will definitely renew the energy and the love that you have for one another. It's very powerful. Okay, let's keep moving here. Hope everyone's doing all right. We're going to go to number 6, which is Venus. And Venus says here, basic rules: decorate a home together, host parties, explore the arts for happiness. And music is involved in this too, museums as well. So when we're looking at this card, which we saw yesterday, Venus is the planet of love, friendship, and artistic expression. Take this opportunity to beautify or pamper yourself. Host a party, decorate your home. You deserve it. This is the energy that is very free-flowing and consequence-free. It is loving and kind. And if you're appreciating the other person through the acts of love, certainly lovemaking is very powerful when it equals a 6. Just make sure that you're doing it with an open heart, that you're doing it from a unpretentious state of mind, and your actions are authentic and genuine. When you do it that way, oh, wow, does this energy flourish. These are the two people that you know for sure are in love. You see them in the street, and there's no mistaking it. Yeah, these people are head over heels for each other. And it's probably because they share this energy, and it equals a 6. I can't even recall a relationship that I ever had that equaled a 6, to be honest. I think it would be too over the top, to be honest, for me. But when you see the 6 equaled together between two people, it's unmistakable. You know that there is incredible love shared between the two of them. So once again, this is the Venus card. Beautiful one to look at. Flower of life underneath the mirror. And it is okay to tap into vanity with this. Don't worry about the consequences so much when this energy exists. It just might make life a little too challenging when you're trying to get down to the real essence, when it comes to the form of saving money and, being frugal when you need to be. That's where you're going to have struggles with Venus, because they're just partying all the time. Okay, let's go to 7. Number 7. Neptune. Ooh, this is a powerful one. It says, develop a meditative practice together. Establish a strong public image. That's important to remember with 7s. So remember, if you have any combination of numbers that equal 7, 16, or 25, or above, it could be 50 as a max. Remember, actually, it's not going to be 50. It could be 52 rather. I think you can get that with you get that with 2 26s. So just keep that in mind. If you have a 52 combo, you're going to also be a 7. It's really important for you to have a strong public image together. It is also equally as important to have a spiritual practice. We'll go over to Saturn in a minute. Neptune here represents the abstract, the mystical forces of the universe in the deepest aspects of your emotional and spiritual self. Neptune-based energy is extremely intuitive, i.e., if your partner is lying to you. I say this with a warning. If your partner is lying to you and you share 7 together, You're going to know. And when you're lying to them, they're going to know. Don't lie. It's really, really not worth it. When you're looking at Neptune energy, these individuals are going to read you like a book. And it could be the first time you've ever had a 7. You're looking at them and you're saying, how do I understand this person so well? How do I know they're lying? And when you're telling the truth, guess what happens? You bond. You bond so deeply. And if you make this truthful communication happen between the two of you, and you go out into public and you demonstrate love and strength together and unity, there's no more incredible energy, really, as far as having an influence on the public. So if you're looking to be a public image and you're going out there a lot and you equal a 7 with your significant other, then be very cognizant of that. If you embarrass the person in public that you're with, it's going to leave an indelible mark. If you cheat on the person, it's going to leave an indelible mark. If you lie to them, it's going to leave a very indelible mark, and it's going to lead to the ultimate decline. So those are the challenges. If you do the opposite, you're going to have a lot of strength. And if you turn this image upside down, you'll see Neptune's head is in the water. It's the deep subconscious. Okay, that was fun. Let's go to 8. 8 is Saturn. Saturn energy. Remember, it's to replace fears with love. And when you're replacing fears with love, all is good. You're burning karma. Congratulations. Teach together. Work in real estate. Work in agriculture. These are the things that Saturn knows how to do better than the rest. It is directly related to time. And when you are together and sharing an energy that equals 8, guess what you can see? Everything that's going to happen. Everything. You're going to see way into the future from the very onset, and you're going to have to make decisions that are concrete based on that. If you're in avoidance of those things that you see, karma is going to be created, and Saturn is going to remind you in ways harsher than all the other planets combined. So it's one thing to have the view of the future. It's another thing to ignore it, folks. Be cognizant of that. Let's go over to the card. I love this card. As you can see on the right-hand side, you have the hourglass and fractal representations. You can look at the actual planet itself, where the scythe is kind of creating the rings of Saturn. And on top, there is the hexagonal storm, which actually exists. If you look at the photos from NASA, you'll see a perfect hexagonal storm on the North Pole of Saturn. And it represents the harvest. It's the fruit of your labor. It settles accounts, both physical and karmic. Its primary goal, however, is to replace all fear with love. Okay? So it's a beautiful energy. And it does also lead to synchronistic events where time seems to stand still and everything seems very magical. When you are replacing your fears with love and you're overcoming these things that have been presenting themselves as challenges for your entire life, now is the time, with the 8 energy between the two of you, to work on those things. It's a beautiful energy. Many people are afraid of this. I take it as it's great. Bring it. Because when you get to the point when you have experienced losses in your life, and you understand that these may be attuned to failures, yes. The only way to get to success is to fail. That is the only way. If you have success without failure, there's no lessons learned. You're in a comfort zone. You have to have failure. Because Saturn teaches that cycles exist for a reason. It is tied to time and space. And when the next opportunity comes around, Saturn exists to give you the skills and the experience points to get it right. It's a beautiful energy. Let's go over to 9. Here we are at the final stretch, folks. 35 minutes in, and we're about to finish. Before we do, I want to check and see if we have anyone looking over with questions. There are no questions, so we're going to take this home and go to number 9. This is Mars energy. If you have combined numbers that give you 9, 18, 27, within the month, you have Mars energy as your ruling law. And so this means you should be exercising regularly, attending spiritual retreats if you can, or doing something that is meditative in that way where you're burning calories, folks. And it does also mention here sexual outlet is crucial. And so what is this all about? Let's go to the card. The card explains a lot. Mars is the soldier of the sun, the Spartan warrior. And Mars energy provides a burst of energy to overcome obstacles, to continue onward. But be aware of your emotions. Take a deep breath before you speak. These things are important when it comes to Mars. If you're sharing 9 together, you might find yourself hanging out in the house all the time. It's tied to the hermit. And you might find yourself getting into these arguments that are really arduous and difficult to get through. That is because there is lots of energy that is being misdirected. And you need to be able to guide this energy. So when you know you have a 9 at the start of a relationship, this is the crucial time. This is the time where you sit down and you say, listen, I'm bringing a 5 in, you're bringing a 4 in, we've got 9. Guess what we need to do? We need to be cognizant of the energies and the reserves, because if we're not putting them to use, they're going to burn their bridges and go on their own, and it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a war zone. So you need to make sure you make use of this energy. And if you do, you will have incredible results. All of your projects will get done. You'll find yourself in the best shape of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You will be a superhuman with the person that you're with, so long as you dedicate the energy in the right direction. And when it's not moving in the right direction, if you both agree, because you're both intelligent individuals that understand that the 3 foundations of a relationship, once again, come down to there being communication, the physical, and the spiritual, which in this case would be Mars. So with those 3 rules and the universal law, you can maintain unbelievable harmony between the 2 of you by just following the rules. Which brings us to one little extra gift today. Well, I'm going to give us 2 little gifts. No, a couple. This is 10. I just love this card by George Sellis. It's just out of this world beautiful. And if we take a moment to go back just for a second and look at all as one, here's this mirror reflection. Remember, to join hands with someone in a relationship is to let go of the single self and to negotiate such things. And as we get to the point of 10, and you've done things according to the universal law, you're looking at your partner in the mirror as the form of your highest good, your realized self, and you are absolutely one with your heart, your mind, and your spirit. And this is what it looks like to be united with someone. It starts with yourself. That's the secret. It starts with loving thyself, loving your heart, and connecting with that energy, and then making the decision to take a leap of faith, knowing that it's going to lead to knowledge and understanding beyond what you could achieve as a single individual. So be grateful knowing you're exactly where you need to be. This powerful mantra, I am that, I am, reflects key components of sun energy. Offer and accept help from others. Say thank you. When the miracles happen in your life, be grateful. Say thank you. They're going to happen if you follow the universal laws. Just be grateful. And you'll find yourself in this position. This is a depiction of Mount Sinai in the background, the burning bush. And you have nopal and the cactus in the front, right, bottom right. And the tuna fruit. It's prickly pear. It's just a beautiful illustration. And the book of knowledge in the right hand, and you see the left hand reflection over the heart, which is to receive. And the universal flame above This is just a beautiful depiction. This is a realized individual through the connection with someone else, through the union with someone else. Okay, so a couple more, just quick ones to show you what the divining cards are all about. This is going to be part of an 11-day meditation that will be offered. And the beautiful thing today is that today is the first day that Patreon has been opened up. And I want to tell you more about that, my Patreon page. Before we do this, and you're looking at how you're leaving the forest, there's trust. We have sacred bread here. It's the symbol for the medicine of immortality. It starts with the intention to share something made with love that will sustain your loved ones. Look at this unity between man and woman in this depiction. It's beautiful. And then, of course, this is the one that I really, really love, 13, which is to let it go. And I'm showing this one tonight to a specific person that I care about a lot, and we share this energy together. And I want her to know that I'm thinking of her in the depiction of the tree here. And we're looking at a term that I want to tell you. It's called, bear with me, it's called the Sierpinski triangle. If you look up the Sierpinski triangle, you will see what is depicted here. It is a triangle that unfolds into a fractal that looks like a tree. And all of these beautiful lotus flowers in the water, you know, a lotus flower has to rise from the muck, from the mud, and you'll see the roots underneath there. The roots are always in the darkness, but they communicate. And, you know, we were at one point fungi. 650 million years ago, we were bacteria. And bacteria runs through these root systems and communicates between families of trees. And you see the families in the background all interacting with each other and vying for sun and making sure everyone gets a little bit of the sun because everyone needs it. And that sun energy is the energy of appreciating one another. And the shooting star on the top right, too. This is just quite an image. And you see the reflection in the water, too, if you look carefully. This is just to show this. This is to show my appreciation for someone in particular. And she knows who she is when she sees this because of what she's received this past week in regards to trees. And I'm going to just talk briefly before we end tonight. It's been a beautiful night. We've covered a lot of information. This talks a little bit about how to calculate your universal law, okay? So you're going to take the number of the month that you were born, combine the number with the number of your partner, take the sum, and reduce it to a number between 1 and 9. The example here, 5 added to 8 is 13. 1 plus 3, which reduces to 4. This gives you Uranus as the energy. And the law of this loving relationship is to let the past go and focus on the present. So, we've covered a lot tonight, a lot, but now you know all 9 of the universal energies. So no matter what relationship you're about to dive into, you know what the laws are in order to reach harmony. And I see this as a gift. It's something that took me a long time to figure out, and I'm giving it to you over the course of 45 minutes here, so you can have it for the rest of your life. Now, if you find that you would like to have a more comprehensive reading, I suggest you become a patron of my Patreon page, and by pledging $12, you can receive a comprehensive reading between yourself and a significant other. So if you have a loved one in your life and you find yourself maybe struggling, or if you want to know a little bit more of the particulars, a $12 donation or pledge will get you that reading. Not only will it get you that reading, but I'll also give it to you in PDF format that I'll type out on an actual typewriter. You'll receive a thank you letter from me in snail mail, typewritten. And I'll also give you a recording by my voice, which you're listening to now, that gives you more of the specifics so that you're good to go. And that's all by supporting my Patreon, which is patreon.com/shiftofmind. Patreon.com/shiftofmind. And your pledge to support With $12, we'll get you a universal Kabbalah consultation for you and a significant other or a family member or a friend or a coworker, whoever else you want. Or if you just want one for yourself too, that's fine. And that is to support my living here in Mexico. And for those who know the story, and you'll learn over time as I reveal more, it is a very heartfelt reason why I'm living here, and it is to be united with my children and to maintain a relationship with them so that they have a paternal presence. And so by pledging, you are supporting that effort on my end to be here and to support my life as a healer, as an energy therapist, and as a writer/author musician. So thank you for watching tonight. And keep in mind, if you also, let's say you don't want to invest $12 and get the reading, you feel good enough with what I've given you tonight. If you do support my Patreon as a patron for $6 a month, which is just $1.50 a week, you will receive an exclusive meditation that's recorded by me once per week. So these meditations are going to cover a number of different resources, things that you need to connect with in order to know how to overcome stress, how to ask for a raise, or if you need to plan out more on how to materialize things in your life. All of these meditations are going to be designed for your well-being. And you'll get one a week for $1.50 a week. And that supports me being here in Mexico. So please keep it in mind. Go to patreon.com/shiftofmind so you can receive your own mind shift every single week and get yourself completely aligned with your highest good. So you can see that end goal one more time, which is I am that I am. I am that realized self. I am that person that understands what my intuition really is saying and how to overcome my obstacles and how to recognize my failures as opportunities to succeed. And I wanted to say just one more time, thank you tonight to all of you for watching live. It's been a wonderful experience for me to share all of this with you. It's been the first time I've ever put this in one comprehensive video. Now you have it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it fulfills your life. I hope it brings you tons of happiness and fulfillment. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow. If you haven't clicked the subscribe, please do, as you'll support this page and support me here in Mexico. Thank you. Have a wonderful night and be well.